Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Judas here, bringing you my Stamplar build for the Dragon Bones patch. This build has been working so well. It works in duels, it works open world, really great for small group, really great in 1vx, just a really great all-round build. Sustain's there, the healing's there, the tankiness is there, and the damage is there, and the burst is there, so it's a pretty popular set, nothing really too different, nothing really extraordinary, but it's the way it's set up. The build's working really well, so we'll jump right into the sets and see what we're rocking on this bad boy. The main setup of the build is dual-wheeled front bar, 2H back bar. Works really well for Stamplar. The sets that we're rocking, we have got the dual-wheeled Ravaging set, so we go Ravaging Dagger. You could have axes, you could have swords, it's entirely up to you. I was wanting to bump out a lot of crit on this build, so I went for the dagger, but you choose what you need, what you want. Optimum setup is the disease damage, really good in terms of reducing the target ceiling. Neuroned, and the other one, increased weapon damage, infused, I feel works the best. We have 5-piece Ravager on the front bar. On the back bar we only have 4. We have run the Ravaging Greatsword. Powered works really well, Neuroned works really well as well. If we just look at the set, crit, health, damage, 8% chance to proc 630 increase of damage for 10 seconds. The effect can occur once every 10 seconds, so Jabs keeps this up so much. Really great set. In terms of the poisons on the back bar, I like to run the damage and Magicka cost ones. Other options you have got, let me see, these ones, yeah, these ones are also good, so you can immobilize your target and also increase the cost of magic. I think they're the best ones to run open world. Lots of people rely on the magic, even stamina builds, so you know, you're really sort of putting them at a disadvantage. The immobilized ones are really dirty, but the damage ones are just as good as well. So yeah, take your pick, have a little think, have a little play with those. To finish off the Ravager, we go Ravaging and Heavy on the chest, Triglyph on there. We also have the legs, Triglyph there, and we have the feet as well. The rest of the sets are made up by throwing in the Bone Pirate. So we have the Bone Pirate on the small pieces, the medium pieces, so the waist and the hands there, and then we make up the rest of the Bone Pirate set with the jewellery. And obviously the Bone Pirate set, stamina, recovery, stamina, the drink buff, active, increased stamina, max stamina by nearly 2k and recovery by 150. This did get nerfed like a couple of patches ago, but it's still just as good. And you run this with the dubious Cameron food, I'm sure you know, works really well, synergizes so well. So yeah, those are the basic sets. It is a heavy build, so obviously the 3 Ravager you have as heavy. You have the 2 medium, and then your monster piece you need to have as heavy. Currently I'm running Troll King, works really well. Triglyph on that as well. Max stam on the shoulder, max stam on everything else. But yeah, this set is just brilliant. You know, the first piece is, yeah, mediocre, take it or leave it, 2% healing done. But the way we've got this set up, I'll explain it later with the Orc and with some other things that we have set up on the build. The health recovery, it just works brilliant for 1vx. You can be in a situation where you're almost out of stam, but you've got your immovable pot up, and you just get 1 heal off, and then the rest of the work is done for you. It's cheesy, it's trolley, but it works so well. So those are the sets. In terms of the food and things that we run, I've just mentioned we run the dubious Cameron food, and then for the Mundus are on the Steed. On an heavy build you sort of do lack mobility, and I think this is really good for the movement speed that we get by 5%, and we're also stacking health recovery for the Troll King, so the 238 health recovery works really good as well. So yeah, those are the sets, everything in stamina. Next we'll talk about the buff stats. So the weapon damage, we reach just over 4,600, which is really good. This is with Rally Up, Ravager proc, Jabs proc, which increases the crit to almost 50%, and the weapon damage. You will be hitting these stats most of the time. Jabs obviously increases the crit, you'll have your Rally Up, you'll weave for your weapon damage, and Jabs will give you the Ravager proc. So really good crit in heavy, and really good weapon damage in heavy. This thing hits so well. Our max stats are really nice as well. Over 11k Magicka, this is really important. Max health in PvP, you're going to be peaking 26k, really good. And the max stam could be a little bit low, but we make up for that with his weapon damage, and it's enough for what we need, well over 35k. So yeah, really good max stats. This really unlocks the full potential of the build and how balanced it is. Our recoveries, stam recovery is 1/6. This can be problematic sometimes, but if you play the build right and get the burst right, you can run it on 1/6 stamina recovery. You get the kills, you get the repents, you work the build that way. The health recovery, I'll show another screenshot for what that procs to, and the Magicka recovery, really nice in terms of how we use a Magicka to support this build and our max Magicka as well. And yeah, health recovery on the back bar, the power bar, we've got 3/6 health recovery. Works really well in terms of just the healing that we're getting. That's not from like vigor, that's not from rally. Really over the top healing. Works so well in that VX situation. There's a reason why we run this as an orc. If we go to the race passives, the orc skill line, so we get the max health and the max stam. That's really balanced, because if you have the max stam would be great if it was more max stam, but for Troll King you need a high max health pool. It only procs below a set percentage. I think it's 50%, 40%. So if your health is, I don't know, 22k, you're gambling on that procking on 11k, and you could still sort of get bursted at that amount. But the more you increase your health, the less sort of a gamble that you're playing with, and the more reward you'll get from that. So the Brawny passive, really good passive. The unflinching increase health healing received by 5% and health recovery. So this is the one that enables things to stack. So the steed, the 2 through 8 increase in health recovery that I get from the steed, that's great because that's a flat number which is stacking with this percentage, and this percentage also stacks with some other things from healing, the powered on the sword, the health recovery you can get from a pot. So really great passive. And then last but not least, the Swift Warrior increases damage for the melee attacks by 4%, and on top of that reduce the cost of sprint. So this build's got no gap closer. You could run a Stampede crit rush on the back bar, but I wouldn't recommend it because we're stacking into the same things. We've got the reduced cost of the sprint speed by 12% and the movement speed bonus by 10, which stacks with the steed that I explained earlier, which gives us 5%, and it also stacks with some skills that we've got on there as well. So that's what it's all about. It's all about putting the things that you know work well on the build together and investing in those and keeping them really tight, and then that's where the build will synergize and it will work and it will really pay off. So yeah, definitely go with an orc for this, and we'll get into the skills now. So in terms of our skills on our dual wield bar, the first one we have got is Quick Cloak. This is really good skill. The stamina cost is sort of alright, could be less, but you just got to be careful with the timing of it. But it lasts for 15 seconds. You get a damage, so not a damage shield, sorry, you get a ring of floating razors around you, so every 3 seconds they will hit 1547 physical damage, and it lasts for 15 seconds. So it's a bit of like a low-key Sork Hurricane sort of thing, but it's good because it's on you, and those tick quite often, buffed by things from Thermitage and CP, which we stack into anyway, so why not have it? But the next thing I really like about it is the reduced damage you get is 25%. It's a quarter reduced damage from anything that's AoE. So you think about those meteors that's dropping, you think about those DKs that's leaping, you think about any Dawnbreaker, any big hitting AoE ulti, AoE move, you've got reduced damage on that by 25%. And the kicker, the last thing I love about it, you get the major expedition, so only for 5 seconds, but a 30% increase in movement speed. You know, we're running around in heavy armor, we're tanky, we've got high damage, but now we can move fast, we can close the gap. So if you think about the normal running speed, and we pop the Quick Cloak, you know, we're off, we're closing those gaps, we're on it. So just a really nice move overall. This is a flex spot. I have in the past swapped this out to the Beast, Trap Beast, which buffs damage on this dual wield bar, and also really nice. This is good. Maybe in duels I would use this when I'm not wanting to close gaps, you know, catch up targets in duels. Maybe I would run around and trap. But yeah, that's the flex spot. That's the only one I would change. Everything else I would keep the same. So Next skill, Power of Light. This is your main burst on your Stamplar, what you time everything with. So you throw it on the opponent, deals a physical damage, copies the damage and releases 20% of it over 6 seconds. The max copy damage could be higher if we increase our max stam, but the damage we put in, we reach that straight away. That's a couple of jabs, a couple of the dots that are ticking, and the opponent's ready to take that extra damage when it bursts. I'll show some examples of that at the back end of the video. And the third thing it does is gives us the fracture, the breach. So really good. When targets' resistances are lowered, damage is increased from tooltip to actually what the damage converts by so much. So really useful move. The main DPS, jabs. One thing I would say about this is make sure that you've got all your buffs down before you go into a jabs, because obviously it is a channel, and for that point you can break it, you can cancel it, but you're stuck. So just make sure you've got everything set up before you go into your jabs. But obviously buffs really well with Ravager. So if we just go to the target skeleton real quick, think about my jabs. So that's the Ravager proc there, you can see glowing, and obviously we can get the other proc as well. Lots of damage, lots of burst. And the second proc was the enchant, so that's what gets us to the max stats that I showed before. Also increases our crit too, so really good in terms of single target damage, and jabs obviously is AoE damage. The next skill on the bar, Rending Slashes. This is such a good move. It really just is what's keeping dual wield on my main bar. So you deal damage upon impact, which is great, but then you've got the bleed. This buffs up to, on tooltip, yeah, buffs to I think it goes a bit higher with the Ravager proc. It scales really well, but it's almost 11k damage over 9 seconds, and a reducement in movement speed by 50%. You know, you get this on them, it'll be extra damage ticking for the Power of the Light. The reducement, their speed will be slowed down, so the snare will allow you to land more jabs. So really good setup, really good skill. And the last one on this front bar is Vigor. Sort of, I've run this in the front bar just because I like to set up on the back bar, and everything I go into I want to make sure my Vigor's ticking. So for example, I don't want to be jabbing without this on if I'm 1vxing, so make sure it's up, and then you can go into your jabs with the Vigor ticking. It will end, reapply your buffs, Vigor again, and back into jabs. And if you keep it like that, you'll not have no problems with your healing at all. So back bar on the 2H bar, we run the Magicomorph so channeled focus. So rather than having the reduced damage, we get a lot of damage reduction from his passives anyway from other things. This one obviously gives us resistances, but also recovers Magicka. So if you think about the recovery we're getting, every 5/10 of a second we're getting 120, so double that, so that's 240 per second. And if you add that to the tooltip that we had before for our max mag, you can see that actually our magic is going to be remaining quite high. So this you need to keep up all the time. If you look at it, it barely takes anything off putting it up, so you can walk back in it to re-get it, or you can just spam it. I've gone to the third skill. The reason why we run this is obviously we need to have our max mag up all the time for our cleanse. The cleanse is such an important skill on the Stamplar when you're in an heavy, because we can't obviously run shuffle, so we've got no other option in terms of removing our snares, in terms of breaking free. So what I'd normally do is I would dodge roll to break the root and then cleanse that off. You may need to cleanse multiple times if you're VXing, depending on the amount of ample effects you've got on you, but in terms of what we get from that, it's really good. It's a source of a heal, and we get rid of all those effects, ample effects. The heal is also really good, because when you want your Troll King to proc, maybe your max stam is running too low, maybe you've not quite got that heal off. If you drop into that low health and you're in this rune and you get that heal will count as enough to proc the Troll King. So really good move. Excuse me, sorry. The next move I want to talk about is Repentance. Just love this move. You're massacring, you're getting really good kills. make sure, I've made this mistake before, you have not repented bodies. Kill, repent, kill, repent. Really, really useful in terms of restoring that health and that stamina, and passively gives flat 10% recoveries in everything, health, stamina and magicka. Such a good balanced move for the Stamplar, I can't beat it. Our only CC on this build, we've got the javelin. It does actually hit quite hard. It's quite costly, just over 3k, but the move is really, really good. A couple of patches ago, it only knocked back 5 meters. I did prefer that to this one, knocking back further, because sometimes you need to make sure you're moving and you're closing the gap before you jab after you've given them the CC. But most of the time they'll be back against something, and you're throwing the spear and they're going into that, and you can get straight on top of them with the jabs. Anything else about this? So yeah, just the knockback. The knockback's quite buggy to break as well. It's, you know, the buggiest CC in the game. I still think is sort of, it's fear to break. Then I'd go reverb's a bitch to break. But this, it can be quite tricky to break if they're too fast, too slow. If you've caught them through their heavy attack weave and they're not breaking it good enough, they're not breaking it quick enough, you can really get on them and capitalise on some good damage. And then rally. I still keep rally on this build because I know a lot of the heavy meta, especially with wardens, they like to run the other morph, which gives you the snare removal. But even though I'm running Troll King, I still like a nice burst heal. You can't beat timing that down, getting a burst heal. You can't just rely on the Troll King to go to work and then tick you back up. You need to have a burst heal as well. And the ult on this bar, sorry I didn't mention the other ult on the other front bar. Dawnbreaker obviously hits like a truck. AoE stuns them, brilliant damage, keeps the pressure on after. If it's not been enough burst wise, they're taking the tick from that, which scales with Thermitage really well. So, you know, the additional 15k over 5 seconds is absolutely great. If you don't get a target with this, keep on them. That's ticking, eventually they will die. Just reapply your burst rotation. And the back bar ulti, the back bar skill we have, Remembrance, such a good skill, such a great skill in 1vx. You get the heal of 9-4 every second over 4 seconds, but then the kicker is the major protection. You know, you're reducing damage you take by 30% for 10 seconds. You think about this, what this is stacking with. You've got the healing from the Troll King, you've got the reduced damage from the quick cloak for the AoEs if it's an AoE, and then you've got this reducing all the damage you take by 30% for 10 seconds. And the downside is you cannot move while channeling this, so you need to use it wisely. So, you know, if your resources are low, you're in a tricky situation, you've got time to think, pop it, let it channel. If you know you can get heals from other things, from other situations, from other moves, you can go on it and block cancel it. So while I've got the circle on me, you can see I'm active and I've still got the reduced damage. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's just dropping off now. So really good move, because you can use it to recover, but you can also use it just for a bit of damage reduction. Then you can turn straight on with the jab, straight on with your normal burst routine. So I think that covers most of the skills. Yeah, I've talked about them all. The pots we like to run with this build. Talked about the food, Dubious Cameron, stam recovery, max stam, max health. I talked about the poisons at the beginning. Yeah, immovability pots, so you get the knockback immunity, you restore the health, you restore stamina, and obviously the stamina increases your overall recovery. The 20% that you get the max health, obviously 9k resource, but then you get 20% over 47.6 seconds on your recovery. So that really works well with the Troll King in terms of your extra healing. Yeah, so I think that's everything for the skills. I'll just show a couple of burst rotations. Nothing's really changed, it's just as simple as we had before. Actually, before we get into the rotations, the burst rotation, I'm just going to talk about CP. Actually, no, I'm not going to talk about CP, I'm just going to quickly flick through it. I've explained CP in a couple of other videos before. This is how I like my Stamplar. You can sort of take this CP, or change it, min-max it other ways, but overall I feel like this is quite balanced. This really works. So I'll just skip through this. 61 in Warlord, 49 Mooncalf, 32 Tenacity, 43 Healthy, 29 in Befoul, 26 tumbling, nothing in there, nothing in there, nothing in this tree. 48 master at arms for that direct damage, 61 thermitage, 40 precise, getting a lot of crit on this build, 56 piercing, 43 mighty, 66 clad for the direct damage, 47 for the crit resist, 28 thick skin, 56 hardy, 43 elemental defender, and that's the champion points right there. So yeah, we'll get into the burst rotation now. So the burst, single target burst, really simple to achieve in the Stamplar. Make sure you've got all your buffs up, and you want to be going just with a light attack rending, light attack into power, light attack into jabs, light attack into jabs, and the Dawnbreaker, time it with the burst on the power of the light. Should have waited, probably could have got another weave in there, maybe an heavy attack. Obviously, if you've not got the Dawnbreaker up, you can use the Javelin CC. You can block cancel that, you can bar cancel that, straight into the jabs. Both work really well. Tanky targets are going to need the Dawny. Light targets, your non-burst rotation, should work well enough really. So I think that's everything in terms of the build, everything that I've covered. I've already got a 1vx clip of this build out, posted it a couple of weeks back. I'm running the exact same setup you see here, nothing different, nothing's changed, so feel free to watch that, have a little look at that. You'll get some ideas of some of the things that you need to be doing and sort of what things you can achieve with the build. Hope it's been useful, hope you've enjoyed it. Take care guys, Judas McGavin, catch you later.